We first initiated with the mission of doing things properly. Our BHAG is to make Mexico energy independent. We developed an expertise about using batteries. We generate what you consume in 24 hours, but we produce it in 5. We can design a big system and we can provide power to the entire community. The panels that we use have a 40-year product and performance warranty.
With over 330 days of sunshine in the Baja, what better guest than Francisco Vargas, the owner of Innovación Solar? We sit down, we talk about energy generation, energy storage, and much more. You're gonna really like this one. So you were saying you were a hockey player.
Yes. So when I think I started playing around 7. We had several ice rinks in Mexico, and we flew all over Canada and US, and there was this big tournament in Quebec where I was offered a scholarship, and my father was with me and he was ready to leave me there. Mm-hmm. Called my mother and said, well, they're offering a scholarship for Fran and he's going to be a hockey player. And my mother in the phone says, he's not going to be a hockey player. Bring my son back. So I started, that was the end of my hockey career.
What age are you at this?
13.
Okay.
But I was pretty good. I was a goaltender. Uh-huh. And I was playing with people that was older than me. And I had a very, very nice level of game. Like the skills that I had as a goaltender was pretty good.
Wow. And so your hockey dreams were shattered at the age of 13.
Yes. And then later on, my parents had a lighting business at that time, and I always focused on mechanical and electrical engineering, and I became an electrical and mechanical engineer in Mexico City, and here I am.
When did you move to Los Cabos? So
fun fact, my family is from San Jose.
San Jose del Cabo.
Yes. So my grandmother was, her name was Irma Castro Green.
Uh-huh. Oh, the Green family.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I wasn't aware of that just until like a few years ago. And my father actually, when my parents divorced, my father decided to come back to live here. Uh-huh. And when I was finishing my degree as a mechanical engineer, I moved down here, and that was 20 some years ago.
Oh my gosh. And so I wanted you on the podcast because a lot of clients ask about solar energy and the energy grid, more and more brownouts and wanting alternative sources of energy. And I thought Innovación Solar, you guys, I believe are the largest solar company in the area, aren't you?
Yes. And not because it's me, but we have developed the largest experience with energy and storage. At that time, when we started our business here in Cabo, we noticed that there's a lot of homes out in the East Cape, people that decided to build their home there, and the solar systems at that time they weren't being put together properly. So we first initiated with the mission of doing things properly and changing the people's minds into what at that time there were many do-it-yourself things that people were bringing things from the US, doing it themselves. And well, little by little, we started gaining more and more knowledge. We got certified in the US by an entity called NAPSIP in the US, where we made contacts and become very close friends with manufacturers. Because at that time, the Mexican wholesalers, they weren't interested in batteries. This is 20 years ago. So we developed an expertise about using batteries. And we have tested with all different types, lithium, lead acid, you name it, we've tested. We've blown inverters, we've blown batteries, hydrogen ignitions. We've experienced it all. So right now, it's becoming more and more popular. What we anticipated many years ago it would happen is that we need a different source of power. So that's pretty much what we are experts on.
You know, every day I think of you because your office, your plant, your operation is based in El Tesal.
Yes.
And my kid's school is in Del Mar.
Yeah.
And so we pass your facility, and that thing has grown tremendously. How many square meters of space do you have over there?
So we have 350 square meters of offices
Mm-hmm.
where we have engineers and we have a postal service team. We have a human resources department.
Yep.
We have 900 square meters of warehouse.
Yep.
Where we have a large inventory of batteries and panels and
Yep.
everything.
And that was a place that you started occupying how many years ago?
Probably around 5 years.
And you have grown from pretty much a single person operation.
Yes.
To how many employees now?
50.
50 employees.
Yes.
And I see your vehicles all over the place in town.
That's a good thing, no?
That's a very good thing. And I know owning a business and having employees, it's a totally different game when it's a single owner operated business and then you start taking on dozens and dozens of employees. We're coming on the end of the year, so posadas and all of that fun stuff that you have to do as a business owner. What is the biggest thing that you've seen change in your industry in the last 5 years?
Well, there's been many challenges, as many of other industries have here locally with human resources.
Mm-hmm.
But we have grown a very nice team, and I can tell you that every single of our employees are amazing. They have very strong core values of honesty and integrity. So
mm-hmm.
that has made it easier.
Right.
Technology has improved, and nowadays it is at a point where if you know what you're doing and you're selecting the proper components, you can pretty much declare yourself energy independent, which brings our BHAG. You know what a BHAG is?
No, what's a BHAG?
It's a big, hairy, audacious goal.
Okay, I have heard of that. I never heard it as an acronym. That's awesome.
Our BHAG is to make Mexico energy independent.
All right.
That's what we're focused on.
So there's you and there's the CFE competing.
Yeah. So if I were to give you an example, remember, I don't know, many years ago when we used to depend on landlines, telephones.
Right.
Where we would have to go to our homes and grab a phone and make a call.
Rotary.
Exactly.
Old school.
But then something happened, and now we have it in our phones.
Mm-hmm.
You can have your computer,
yep.
and you've become independent from that network of wires.
Yep.
That is exactly what we need to do with energy. We depend on an industry that has 100 years, with wires going all over the place, mm-hmm. and we depend on a centralized source of power.
Mm-hmm.
But when you become energy independent, you become your own producer. You have your own laptop, your own phone, and you don't depend on those lines anymore.
Right. Okay.
That's pretty much what we should start looking at, and that's what we do every single day.
The same thing is with entertainment, with Netflix and all the streaming services,
exactly.
Right?
Yes.
And so we're no longer relying on the big network channels or cable TV or even satellite TV, because now it's all being streamed and there's no commercials. My kids are like, they're horrified whenever there's a commercial.
Yes.
A commercial to them is on YouTube where you can skip the ad after 7 seconds.
Yes. Well, and I mean, I've heard many effects of the kids not being able to wait anymore. No.
Yep.
But that could be one side of the picture. But I think it makes us more productive because we have information at our hands.
That's
we
right.
don't have to depend or waste time on looking at an ad. No.
I've spent time with you, and your clients actually have an app on their phone that they can monitor not only their energy production, but energy usage and everything. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Well, I don't know if you've seen the latest one. That's something that we're very proud of. For years, if you have solar panels, brand this, and you have a power source from the utility, CFE, and you have a generator, then it was difficult to match it all together. We have now linked solar with CFE, with a generator, with a battery, all into one single app. Okay. So that allows you to see everything that is happening. No? Okay. And to your point, if the CFE overbills you, now you have evidence of telling, hey guys, you're making a mistake.
Right.
And they say, yeah, sorry, we're gonna go check it out, and they amend their mistakes. No. But
do you see that often?
Very often.
Really?
Yes.
Holy cow.
Yeah, I mean, it goes both ways. No, we've had clients with a massive house that we were only able to fit 15 panels, and the client needed 300.
300 panels on a house.
And their electric bill went down from $4,000 to $100. So it doesn't make sense.
Right.
And we see the bill, and the client is like, "Man, I mean, your system is amazing."
Yeah.
With 15 panels, I was able to.
But there was an error with the CFE
and that has been
meter.
Ongoing. Every other year, we go and we put a complaint, and we tell the utility company, "Guys, you're making a mistake.
Right.
You're underbilling this client."
Yeah.
And they say, "Yeah, sorry, we're gonna fix it." They come fix it, and the next year they come back and say to the client, "Well, we haven't billed you correctly for the last year, and you owe us, I don't know, $150,000. Pay now, or we cut the service." So it's a very good and reliable tool to have that monitoring.
Right. So with that particular client, they did pay, or it's still every year?
Every year.
And are they paying the difference, or not yet until CFE actually correctly?
A year passes, and then they come back and say, "Here's a bill for $150,000. Pay now, or we cut the service."
Jeez.
Yes. So the less we can depend on the utility, the better.
Right. So on that particular house, if they had 300 panels, would they be 100% self-sufficient?
Yeah.
But 300 panels, how much square surface area do you need for that?
No, I mean, forget about the problem is that we also have to change a little bit in what we use. We have clients that have a snow room or a plunge pool and so many things in their homes that makes such requirement of power. No? So if we can start being more conscious about the energy that we use, then probably with energy management, we can lower the required amount of solar.
Okay.
You know?
How many installations are you doing per annum, per month?
Well, on a weekly basis, we do 2 to 5 per week.
All right. And it's consistent throughout the year? So you do hundreds of properties a year?
Yes.
And is there a limit to where you go?
The sky's the limit, Nick.
In terms of geography, are you going up to Loretto or?
Well, we, as you know, we started locally. You know, we started developing this knowledge, know-how about how to use batteries and what batteries to choose. But we operate the entire peninsula. Okay. But all around Mexico, we have looked for companies that have the same honesty and core values. Yeah. For them to learn what we have learned in 15, 20 years and shorten their learning curve so that they can just start offering what we are offering to everybody.
Like a franchise or?
No, like a partnership. Okay. So they benefit from receiving the components from us pretty much at cost. Yeah. And then we tell them how to do it, how to follow the electrical code. And we're doing that with 40 companies nationwide.
No way.
Yes.
And do they carry your Innovación Solar name or their own brand?
Some of them do. We help them all the way from engineering to sales and post-sale service. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they invite me to their sales meetings and I help them help the client understand the technology and their options in becoming energy independent. Oh,
cool. And what percentage of your business and those 40 satellite businesses that you have nationwide are residential, and what percentage are commercial?
Most of it is residential.
All right. And is there any commercial properties here locally that you have been a part of?
We've done a couple of restaurants, and we've done some developments, but most of it has been residential.
Residential.
From residential, it's interesting because the word residential in the market, or in, for example, in the U.S., they say, well, residential is pretty small. But there's massive homes here. There's all sort of, I mean, you know.
Yeah. 2,000, 3,000 square meter homes.
10,000 square foot homes.
Yeah.
That could be more like a boutique hotel.
Exactly.
So we do those all different ranges and varieties. So.
And the components of a solar system, you mentioned it earlier. You have the batteries, you have the solar panels, you have a generator. How does all that, for the novice, if you were to explain a child, someone with no solar experience, explain to us the different components and how they interact with one another.
So it all starts with how much energy you use. Then we can determine that by looking at your appliances or by looking at your electric bill to determine what do we need to generate. Then the solar panels is the component that will produce the power that you need. No? We estimate that somewhere between 5 hours is the most productive hours of the day where we can generate power. The rest is just bonus. So we generate what you produce in what you consume in 24 hours, but we produce it in 5.
All right. Right.
And then that power is administrated to through wires and protection boxes and combiner boxes to a device called inverter. Then that inverter would convert direct current produced by the solar to alternate current. Depending on how modern or robust that inverter is, it may or not may have the capacity to also be connected to a DC battery, where you can also simultaneously, while feeding your load, we can also be recharging the batteries.
Okay.
Then the inverter would power your loads. It'll produce alternate current and it'll deliver you the power. No, that inverter has multiple inputs where it can receive power from the grid and it can receive power from a generator or generators. And it'll decide based on what our clients, I mean, pretty much what you can imagine, we can do it. No? There's clients that say, Fran, well, based on my bill, it's less expensive to run my generator from this hour to this hour than buying power from the utility. So we can do that.
That actually exists sometimes?
Yes.
Is that because of the peak hours or where the rate is higher?
Exactly.
It's cheaper to run a propane kind of generator, or really?
In some equations have been. Of course, naturally, we aim for the renewables. We aim
the
for
battery.
Using the battery first,
right.
Well, solar, then battery, then either generator or grid, depending. But it can also be something that it's like a strategy. You know? For example, if we know that you need to produce X amount of power to hit the lower tier rate, then probably would just run your generator for, 4 hours a day or 2 hours a day, so that after a couple of months, we bring you down to that tier rate, and that accelerates your rate dropping and then being on a lower tier rate.
For some people, they don't know what you're talking about.
Yes.
So here locally, the CFE has different pricing tiers.
Yes.
Right? And the most expensive is the DAC.
Correct.
Right? And then how many levels of pricing?
There's 3. The most expensive DAC, surprisingly, right now it's at like 47 cents
per kilowatt hour.
Kilowatt hour is the unit that appears on your electric bill.
Right.
No, it's how they measure
When you say 47 cents, 47 Mexican cents?
No, US.
US cents?
Yes.
Okay.
It's like 7 something, 7.5 pesos, something
All right.
like that, no, including IVA.
Mm-hmm.
IVA is the sale tax that they charge.
Correct.
But then if you manage to consume under 10,200 kilowatt hours per year,
Mm-hmm.
then your rate could drop to 15 cents.
So a third.
Yes.
Okay.
And there's another category below.
All right.
No? So that'd be the target for most
Right.
residences here in Los Cabos.
And the CFE is evaluating that on an annual basis, based on a calendar year?
They make a rolling average of the last 6 bills, or
Okay.
the last, because a bill in a residential,
Mhm.
it will be for every 2 months.
Right.
No?
So 3 billing cycles, they will evaluate.
6.
So
6 bills.
6 bills. But aren't the bills every 2 months?
Every 2 months.
Okay.
So it'll be a rolling year.
Okay.
No?
So, okay, I got it. 6 2-month increments.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
So they're going to evaluate the full year rolling. And if you consume less than the different tiers, then you can bop down to a lower rate. And so when you're talking about having your system that would be a generator, battery, from the grid, the 3 different sources, you would kind of play with it so you fall in that lower tier. That's what you're aiming for, right?
That'll be one of the goals.
Yeah.
The ultimate goal that we pursue is forget about the grid.
Right.
Because as you know, we've had several outages.
Mm-hmm.
I think this year, I remember another year where we've had more outages, more power outages. So some clients are scared of those outages,
Right.
but we have a solution, and it's a very reliable solution. Coming from a guy that lives off the grid, you're more than welcome to come see.
How many panels do you have on your house?
I have 40.
40, and you have batteries. How many batteries do you need to store all the energy?
That's a very difficult
question to answer.
But if I were to give you a more or less hint, our batteries, they can fast charge in 1 hour.
Oh, wow.
Then we've learned that on a 24-hour window,
Mm-hmm.
the energy that you consume, 30% is the energy that you consume at night.
Okay.
30 to 50%, depending on where you're from and if you throw air conditioning parties, etc.
Right.
But most of us that equation would work in the 30%.
Okay.
So we design a battery that will give you 30% of the power that you need every single day. So that in size or number of batteries, that's two of the small wine cellars in your house.
Okay.
That you can put in your garage.
Okay.
And that takes care of the entire house.
When you say wine cellars, what do you mean by that?
Those refrigerators that
yeah. The small, yeah.
So 2 of those would do an entire house completely off the grid.
A normal house, not a 1,000 square meter house.
Probably up to a 3,000-4,000 square foot home.
Okay. All right. And so that comes in where you being an electrical and mechanical engineer comes into play, because you're able to calculate and do all the math and science behind what is the appropriate battery, the size, how many panels. Is there much differentiation between the kind of panels that you're using with clients?
There's a big difference, Nick. The panels that we use by a company called SunPower, they have a 40-year product and performance warranty.
Wow, 40 years.
So in 4 decades, you don't need to worry about what's generating the power that you use.
Mm-hmm.
Inferior panels, they would have a 10-year warranty.
All right.
And they would disguise with a 25-year production warranty at 80%.
Okay.
I've never been able to validate a warranty in 20 years, but with SunPower. So SunPower is a premium product. As any other industry, there's good, there's better, there's bad.
Right.
SunPower is kind of the best category, but there's a lot of Asian manufactured panels that are not as bad.
Where's SunPower manufactured?
SunPower has 2 of the biggest plants in Ensenada and Mexicali.
Both in Mexico?
Yes.
Wow.
that serves the entire continent. No, but they have others in Europe to serve different markets. SunPower is not a company that you choose. They choose who they partner with, and we are their partners for all back.
That's nice.
The overall, it's probably 7% more expensive than an Asian manufactured panel.
Right.
And most of the times, we don't see that there is a significant jeopardizing a 40-year warranty for 7%.
No, certainly not.
Same story with batteries. We've all heard of Tesla. Tesla, we also install Tesla. But Tesla is more like a grid-tied battery that would serve like to offset only.
Okay.
But if you're looking at a house where it's out on the East Cape and you're living off the grid, you might need something more robust. That's why we partner with Blue Planet Energy. Have you heard of?
No.
You've heard of Tetris?
Yeah, of course.
So the developer of Tetris, Hank Rogers, he after a life in that experience, he decided to give something to mankind. So after shifting industries, he realized that the weak link towards renewable energy and us killing the planet is the pollution of the sources that we use. So he went on a mission to find ways to make that faster. So he created foundations, and I'll share all the links. And he got together with a company in Japan to produce a battery that would outlast any other. So this battery has a 15-year warranty and a 21-year life expectancy if you use it 100% every single day.
So that means you fill it up, you drain it.
Exactly.
Fill it up, drain it.
Most batteries, and the less expensive...
Use it or lose it, kind of.
For example, Tesla would have a 3,500 cycle life, which is around 8 years.
All right.
So it means that every 8 years, you're putting more money to replace your battery. And if you're in the sustainability business...
Yeah, you're all the resources and the...
Exactly. Why are we selling things that need to be replaced in a short period of time?
Right.
So it's not for everybody. It's super expensive, but it provides a lot of peace of mind. You know? We have those alternative batteries for those of our clients who say, well, Fran, I'm not going to live more than 15 years. And they say, well, I do want the power, but I don't want to make that commitment.
Right.
I mean, I understand. Okay. Or they say, Fran, I'm going to be selling the house.
Right.
You know? Which brings a lot of input to your side, because we have also learned that clients would be more inclined to buy a house that has a low OPEX, operating cost of the house. And we have seen that many of our clients decide to purchase a battery-based system with solar to allow that, given upcoming and rising power outages, that they would have a system there in their home. You know? So it's like an insurance for power. No, if you think about it, we all have insurances of our houses and
cars.
Why wouldn't you have insurance of having power?
Yep. What does it look like in terms of the batteries that you're talking about that would have an 8-year life compared to 15 to 21 years? Is it twice as expensive?
Probably 40%.
Okay.
40% overall, no, in the project.
Right.
No? Considering panels and everything.
Okay.
You know, all the installation.
Yeah.
We've seen a 30 or 40% difference.
Okay.
The product itself is double.
Okay. The project itself
battery
is double.
To battery is
Okay.
double. And if I were to compare it, have you seen these Asian-made Jeep?
Yeah, I've seen it. Yes.
So that's if you put together a Jeep and take it to the rock climbing,
right,
and you take this even stock, no, probably
you trust the
exactly, and
the more expensive, more proven,
exactly, more proven, more reliable, no,
especially with energy, you don't want to turn on the switch when you need it the most and it not work.
Yeah, the thing is, and the challenging also, Nick, is that and more people will come here to Cabo. We have received visitors from all over the world begging us to sell their battery.
Mm-hmm.
And more will come, and more will come. Right. And the truth is that not every battery is built the same. And we've seen some batteries caught on fire.
Yeah.
So, which really damages our industry. You know, if somebody buys a battery and gets caught on fire.
Right. And the trust of the solar system, the solar industry.
Yeah, because the owner is not going to say, well, I had this quote for this amazing battery by Blue Planet Energy, but I decided to go with this other
inferior, less expensive option.
Which is, I mean, it's okay.
Yeah.
But just keeping your public aware of that.
What are the things that people, when they think, I'm going to get solar on my house, that they don't consider? That you think, being on the podcast, you have an opportunity to enlighten our audience?
I don't think most of them consider how much energy they will use. No, they all buy a house and they all buy air conditionings and everything. Mm-hmm. And especially if they're coming on these summer months where we have the best waves, to serve.
Right.
That's one of the things. So when they receive their first electric bill, they go like,
"No way!
Oh my God!"
Yeah, I just had one of our agents mention to me yesterday that his client got a $6,000 electricity bill, and it was like, what?
Yes. So and by incorporating small of our systems, mm-hmm. we can start getting metrics of how much energy they use from day one.
Yeah.
And that allows you to know what's going on other than just waiting for the bill.
Right.
Also, the more information you have of your house, we've detected, Nick, clients that had a very big bill and the house was empty, and turns out that there was a water leak on the irrigation system, so the water pump was working 24/7 for 2 months.
Wow. Yeah.
And after looking at the monitoring, mm-hmm. we told the client, well, you have this load at night and it's draining your batteries and it's draining everything.
Right.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
And
I'm not doing anything.
Goes, well, I'm not even there. Well, let's help your property manager to find that. No, but usually a water pump is just, I don't know, submerged in a water tank and you don't even hear it.
Right.
So things like that, and then also that's probably very frustrating that if they want to add solar, look for a house that has a flat roof. Most developments in Cabo won't approve solar panels on inclined roofs.
Right.
They have to be on flat roofs that it's not visible.
Right.
So we've had cases in many of them where say, well, put whatever number of solar panels that you think, no?
Right.
And back to this original example where the client needed 300 and we were only able to place 15. So it's a little bit frustrating.
Yeah.
Little by little, we've been working with all developments and their design review committees and design guidelines for them to start designing the house a little bit more eco-friendly.
What communities do allow solar installations on pitched roofs? What communities that you know of?
That I know of, only Pedregal.
Okay.
Pedregal. That's pretty much. We've done some in Copala and all that area where they've approved the panels over
the pitch roof, like that's not
the
flat.
Tile roof, exactly. Right. But other than that, Nick.
So it's pretty. You need to have that flat roof. It's also more conducive, for energy generation, or no?
You want the panel to be inclined like 20 degrees south, which is our latitude.
All right.
That's the most efficient way. But we've learned that if you put them flat and use 100% of the area, then you end up putting more power per square footage where we can use. Does that make sense?
Yeah. What is the, you said on the panels, it's 40 years, batteries up to 21.
Well, the warranty for 15. If you go with Blue Planet Energy, 21 years if you use it 100% every single day.
Right.
Which is not going to happen because in winter months,
right,
you're not using as many air conditioners. So, for example, in my case, I'm
not if you're at my house.
No,
we're using
really?
it all the time. Yes,
even in winter.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, but the air conditioners won't go through the same stress.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
So they would naturally consume less power. So it's very possible that you're not discharging the battery 100%.
Yeah. And typical payback in a house. If you had your house, for example, 40 panels, and if you were hooked up on the grid, you're not on the grid, what would be the normal payback? Is it 7 years, 8 years? What have you found?
Nick, that's a concept that I'm little by little trying to change. No? What's your payback on being here in 4th of July and not having power?
Mm-hmm. Right.
How much would you pay if you have your full family here in 4th of July and you lose power?
Right.
How much?
Yeah.
I mean, you would pay
thousands of dollars, right?
Exactly. So you start factoring in those, then it'll help.
Yeah.
You
That's really interesting because I tell our agents the same thing, because the buyer of a house is like, what's my return on investment? Same thing, right? Is it a 10% return? Is it a 7% return? Is it 6%? And what I say is you can get a return on your investment without a doubt in real estate in Cabo, San Lucas, in the Baja. But it really is, are you going to use the house? And are you going to be creating memories, and you're with family, you're with friends, and what's the price tag of that?
Exactly.
And so when you factor that in, that's like priceless.
Exactly. And that's how we try to change their minds. No? Mm-hmm. We've seen return investments depending on the rate, somewhere between 8% on commercial rates, mm-hmm. and up to 20%.
Wow.
If it's a residential.
So that would be a 5-year payback.
With batteries.
With batteries. So that's a higher cost because you're
9 years. 9 years is what we've seen on the higher tier rates, mm-hmm. and smaller on the commercial rates, because commercial rates are less expensive than run residential.
Okay, all right.
Which isn't bad. I mean, if you happen to have, I don't know, $150,000 just sitting in the bank.
Yeah.
This will
produce. Good return.
Yes.
No. And it's also the sustainability. It's better. It's more planet friendly. And in those emergencies where there is no power, you have another source, which is your batteries.
Yeah. Exactly.
Is there a way to run a generator off the batteries? I guess you wouldn't need that, right? So I have a Generac, right? It runs off of propane.
Okay.
At my house. And that's a stupid question.
No, but let me add to your question. Yeah. I think that's kind of where you're going. So right now there's an outage and your generator goes on.
Right.
And it gives you power for many hours,
mm-hmm.
as long as you don't run out of propane.
That's right.
Or the generator doesn't fail because it overheated and consumed the oil. So forget about solar for mm-hmm. a minute. If you add in between the generator and your house a battery,
mm-hmm.
then because our battery is fast charging 1 hour,
right,
you can, instead of wearing and tearing and consuming a lot of propane,
right,
you can just boost the batteries in 1 hour, and then generator stops.
Oh, wow.
And you keep having power.
And the generator is super loud. And so
super loud, and you were here in 2015 for that. We had probably 8,000 solar panels installed at that time, and we didn't lose a single one.
You did really in Hurricane Odile?
Yes. So, but many clients they said, well, we had amazing grid tied system, but we don't have any power.
Right.
So they need the batteries.
Yeah.
You know? And many clients who actually had a generator, there weren't a lot of propane trucks just running around.
That's right.
No?
Yeah.
So those factors, especially clients who were here during Odile, they were the first ones that say, "Fran, we need the batteries."
Yeah. So how many panels to date have you installed? You mentioned 8,000 at that time. What are you?
Probably we're at 20,000.
Wow. And that's a cool number because it's like us selling houses. It's like we hundreds, thousands of houses, and you count it by solar panels. And what would be a cool number? Maybe you have this because you also have the service of like the maintenance of the systems, right?
Yes,
because that's important.
Yeah, our team. So we have 2 engineers with vans that they go and clean the panels. We serve 180 contracts where the team they go clean the panels, make sure everything is tightened.
Yeah.
The most frequent failure that we have in our systems is that the internet connectivity drops out because the user, I don't know, changed the Wi-Fi password or the modem rebooted and something happened. That's the most common failure that we have. So that team also takes care of reconnecting the system to the web.
Okay.
Because when you have these apps, you develop an addiction to
how much energy do I have? How much did I generate? How much did I save? Have you tracked the amount of energy you've generated in your panels?
Oh, yes.
Historically, across all your property installations?
No.
That would be an interesting...
I know. Yes. I think about it very, very often.
You could do an estimate, no?
We can do an estimate, yes. And I mean, we've had all sort of goals. Probably I will. I have one of my goals is to give medals to clients who,
That's a
for
good
example, generated 5 megawatt hours. No? And every time we see that they gather that amount of energy, then we give them a plaque that says, congratulations, you've generated this much energy. We're going to do that.
That's cool.
It's been very, very busy growing the company throughout all these years. And
are there any other aspects of the solar energy other than houses or commercial that can be applied that you can see business-wise Innovation Solar going into? Like, for example, in real estate, we can do home remodeling, we could do vacation rentals, we could do the sales, we can go into commercial, residential, we can develop. Are there any other like things that you're thinking of? Or
there's many.
Yeah.
So talking about failures, no? I told you number 1 failure, which is the internet connectivity. But number 2 failure is that the clients, when they have a big system and they've gone through a big investment, they forget that the system was designed for only, 10 air conditioners.
Right. And they add more.
They add another building and yada, and they call us friends, something happened, the system is not working, and we see that we arrive and we see, 5 more air conditioners. Right. So we have to expand them. Okay. That's number 2.
Yeah.
Number 3 is that we face a lot of electrical problems. We see that there's a big opportunity for us to help our clients taking care of the electrical installation, not only the solar, but we see that in the next years or so, we might start doing the electrical installation of the entire house.
Right. Especially with all the new construction and the shortage of labor, skilled labor. Yeah. Maybe it's not an electrician that did the installation.
Yes, exactly.
So that makes sense.
And then, are you familiar with what a microgrid is? Microgrid.
No.
So we're talking about your new development.
Yeah.
We can design a big system that instead of connecting all those houses to the grid, we can design a big system. We can place panels on top of the houses or just put a field, and we can provide power to the entire community of houses.
Have you done this yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
We have a small example with a partner in Valle de Bravo. Do you know Valle de Bravo?
Yeah. I've never been there, but I know of it.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So we're doing it for 5 houses.
All right.
Where instead of having everybody invest in their own battery and their own system and
it's shared.
It's all shared. And when, for example, house number 34 is empty, then you just have all that infrastructure just sitting there.
Makes sense.
So you share the infrastructure, the cost goes down per house,
Right.
and you make the entire community independent. So that's our next focus.
That's
But
really interesting.
we haven't been able to find who would jump into that.
Well, you need a developer that is forward thinking enough.
Exactly.
And it's a big investment, but I think what I see in the real estate development field, because upwards of 70% of the inventory is new development in our market.
70?
7-0, yeah.
Wow.
And so is trying to differentiate yourself as a developer. And that for sure is a huge differentiator to be able to do something like that.
And we have instances of financing. With our partners, because we deal with manufacturers,
Right.
they're up for that.
Cool.
If I say, well, we're going to develop a microgrid for 30 homes, and they want to be part of it because it hasn't been done worldwide.
Oh, maybe we can talk more about
We
that.
should.
Talking with, maybe start small with the developer we're working with, and then prove the model, just like what you did years ago when you first started Innovación Solar.
Yeah,
All right.
definitely.
Fran, thanks for joining us. This has been very educational.
My
and
pleasure.
if people need to get a hold of you, what's the best way?
Well, my email is always the best source, fvargas@innovationsolar.mx. We have a webpage where I try to describe pretty much everything that we've discussed.
Yeah.
Innovationsolar.mx. And finally, Nick, I'll just leave you with this. There's a book I like to give to our clients called Freeing Energy. Whenever you have chance,
Read the book, Freeing Energy.
Freeing Energy
All right.
by Ronival.
All right.
It describes pretty much our mission, and it will help people change their mind a little.
Perfect. Well, Fran, thank you.
No,
And
You're welcome. Thanks for the invitation to your podcast. And
absolutely, and we'll see you on the streets.
Awesome. well, not on the streets.
Yeah, on the streets, like
On the
driving and seeing, waving. Although I haven't seen you for years, and we were just commenting earlier. So thanks for stopping on by.
You're very welcome, Nick. Thanks so much.
Until the next one, bye for now.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Nick Fong Podcast. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and the YouTube channel at youtube.com/Ronival Real Estate and follow Nick on Instagram at NickFong_Ronival. Ready to find your Baja dream home? Check out the latest property listings at Ronival.com or findmexicohouses.com. Hasta luego.